At 30 years old, Aravind thought his life was finally working. He had a good job, a rented apartment, a car, a decent salary, and a plan. By 35, he would buy a house. By 40, he would have enough money to relax. He thought he was finally ahead until one Monday morning his phone rang. His manager said four words: "We're letting you go." Arvind laughed. He thought it was a joke. It wasn't. 3 months later, he had sold his car. 6 months later, he had emptied his savings. And 1 year later, the man who once thought he was building a comfortable life was sitting alone in a tiny rented room staring at his bank balance. 1784 rupees. That was everything he had left. No job, no savings, no car, no confidence. And worst of all, he had no idea what to do next. But that night, Arvind made a decision. He wasn't going to rebuild his entire life in one day. He was going to rebuild it one day at a time. The next morning, Arvind opened a notebook. At the top, he wrote, "What do I actually need to survive?" Not what he wanted, not what looked successful, what he actually needed: food, a roof, a phone, internet, and enough money to keep moving. He called his older sister. His voice was uncomfortable. "Can I stay with you for a few weeks?" There was silence. Then she said, "You don't need to be embarrassed. Come home." That sentence changed something inside him. Arvind had spent years believing successful people never needed help. Now he understood something different. Asking for temporary help isn't failure. Sometimes it's how you stop falling long enough to stand again. That evening, Arvind opened his banking app. Streaming subscriptions, food delivery, online shopping, gym membership, premium apps, random monthly payments he barely remembered. He cancelled almost everything. Then he calculated his new monthly survival number. It was less than half of what he had previously spent. He looked at the number and whispered, "So this is what survival actually costs." For the first time, he wasn't trying to look successful. He was trying to become stable. And that difference mattered. Because when you're drowning, you don't decorate the boat. You stop the leak. Arvind had worked in an office for years. His ego wanted another office job. Something with a respectable title. Something he could tell people about without feeling embarrassed. But his bank account didn't care about his ego. So he started applying everywhere: delivery work, customer support, retail, freelance jobs. Anything legal that could bring money in. After dozens of rejections, he finally got a temporary customer support job. The salary was much lower than his old one. His friend asked, "Are you really going to do this?" Arvind smiled. "For now, yes." The job wasn't his destination. It was a bridge. And bridges don't have to be beautiful. They just have to get you to the other side. The first few weeks were brutal. Arvind woke up tired, worked, came home, scrolled through social media, saw people his age buying houses, getting promotions, traveling, and felt worse. Then one morning he forced himself outside. He walked for 20 minutes. The next day, 25. Eventually, he started running, then doing simple body weight exercises. Nothing extraordinary. But something strange happened. His problems didn't disappear. His bank balance didn't magically increase. But his mind became clearer. He started sleeping better, thinking better, working better. He realized when your life feels out of control, control what you can: your sleep, your food, your movement, your morning. Small victories create momentum. One night, Aravind sat down and opened his old notebook. He had written, I need to fix my career. Then, I need to make more money. Then, I need to catch up with everyone. He stared at the page. The list felt impossible. So he crossed everything out and wrote three new words: win tomorrow morning. That became his rule. He stopped asking, where will I be at 40? Instead, what can I do today? Go to work, exercise, apply for better opportunities, learn one thing, save whatever he could, sleep, repeat. He stopped trying to solve his entire life before breakfast. And slowly, his life began moving again. Arvind knew the bridge job could pay his bills, but it couldn't completely change his future. So he made another rule: every night, 1 hour. 1 hour of learning. He chose sales, not because it was glamorous, because businesses always needed people who could communicate, understand customers, and create revenue. At first, he was terrible. He watched lessons, practiced conversations, recorded himself speaking, studied successful salespeople, applied what he learned. Some nights he was exhausted and wanted to quit, but he remembered something. He didn't need to become an expert this month. He only needed to become slightly better than yesterday. 6 months passed. Then a small company gave him an interview. They asked him, why should we hire you? Arvind paused, then said, because I know what it feels like to lose everything. And I know how to keep moving when things don't go according to plan. They hired him. His income increased. But the biggest change wasn't his salary, it was his confidence. For the first time in years, he knew he was becoming valuable again. Arvind didn't celebrate by upgrading his lifestyle. He remembered the 1784 rupees. So every month he saved first, not whatever was left over, first. His first target was 10,000 rupees, then 25,000 rupees, then 50,000 rupees, then 1 month of expenses. Eventually, he built enough savings to survive several months without income. One day, he looked at his account. The number wasn't millions, it wasn't even close, but he smiled. Because this time, his money wasn't there to impress anyone, it was there to protect him. He had finally built something his younger self had never understood: a financial safety net. 2 years after losing everything, Arvind had options again. He had experience, savings, a valuable skill, confidence, and something even more important: perspective. He realized that the life he had been chasing before 30 wasn't necessarily the life he wanted. He didn't want to spend his entire life chasing a title. He wanted flexibility. So he started a small sales consulting service on the side. One client became two, two became five. Eventually, the side income became larger than his old salary. And one evening, Arvind sat alone at his desk. The same man who had once stared at 1784 rupees was now looking at a completely different life. But he didn't feel lucky. He felt grateful. Because losing everything had taught him something success never could. Arvind didn't rebuild his life with one lucky break. He didn't discover a secret investment. He didn't suddenly become a millionaire. He simply stopped trying to solve everything at once. First, he survived. Then, he cut the unnecessary. Then, he found income. Then, he rebuilt his body and mind. Then, he focused on one day. Then, he built a valuable skill. Then, he created savings. And finally, he chose a new direction. That's how rebuilding actually works. Not dramatically, not overnight, quietly. One decision, one habit, one day at a time. So if you're 30 or 35 or 40 and you feel like everyone else is ahead of you, remember Arvind. Your current situation is not necessarily your final destination. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost your savings. Maybe a business failed. Maybe you made terrible financial decisions. Maybe you simply woke up one morning and realized, I'm not where I thought I'd be. That's painful. But it doesn't mean your story is finished. You don't need to rebuild the next 10 years today. You only need to win the next 24 hours. Wake up, take care of yourself, cut one unnecessary expense, find one way to earn, learn one valuable skill, save the first small amount, and do it again tomorrow. Because sometimes losing everything isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the moment you finally start building a life that belongs to you. If this story gave you even a little hope, subscribe to Sathya Stories and comment below, I will rebuild. Because your comeback doesn't begin someday, it begins with what you do today.